But hi, Mr. T. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, how y'all doing? Happy to be back.
So, welcome to our club called Jaguar Voices.
Hmm.
We know that you've read a book called U.N.N, um,
Mm.
and we would like to know more about you. Yes,
Well,
you have to put this time.
yes, I'm dating myself once again, but back when I was younger, Run DMC came out with a song called "You Talk Too Much and You Never Shut Up," and like all my family and them used to play that for me and say that song was for me because I've always been a motor mouth. So now to be able to talk about my book is just like uh, I'm in a verbal playground. You know what I mean? So I'm open for any questions you all have. Hopefully, I give a good enough answer to where you don't have to keep asking the same question over and over. Because I'm
Okay.
not a politician. I know how politicians will just completely avoid the question that you ask. I want to be precise, ask just that question, and not give you too much overflow.
All right. Thank you. So, my first question do I have for you is how did you become a writer?
Um, just like with anything else, it started in my mind to say, "Hey, I can be a writer," because at the end of the day, and like school molds us to write anyway, because you have to turn in so many papers. And luckily for me, once I got to school, it was second nature because, like I said before, my mother's a teacher, so writing was something that I was fundamental for me in my household. To where when it came to school, it wasn't forced upon me like a lot of people perceive it as like something they don't want to do because they first pick it up in school. So it was more like a just normal way of conveying yourself in my eyes. So getting grown and doing other careers to where it was a lot of work, you know what I mean? Really doing physical labor or doing sales the way I did it and stuff like that to where I could rely on something that's fundamental for me as writing to be a more of a diving board into a field I was more interested in. It was kind of started in my mind that I was a writer, and then just pursuing my thoughts actually solidified me as a writer.
All right. Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, I do. Were you ever scared that people wouldn't take you seriously when you wanted to write your book?
Of course, those thoughts definitely come into mind, and that's why I had to do so many drafts, so many revisions before I came out with it because I wanted to be solid in my stance and I wanted to be profound in my conveying the message. So once I felt that I was at that level, I went further with it. But yes, of course, I felt that it was going to be a uphill battle just with people accepting the fact of the title, let alone the, the the meatiness of what's inside the book. But fear is just motivation for me. I easily try to transfer fear into motivation because fear can either hinder you or you can transfer it into motivation and it can propel you.
All right, Favor.
Okay. Hi. Um, my main question is, well, I looked at your title, and I'll tell you now, it really caught my attention. Um, I just would like to know what made you like pick that title and what is the meaning of that title? What does it mean to you?
Um, the title means to me, we're in the USA, right? So one one thing I'm aware of now fully is that the USA has a few different nations residing within itself, and one of them happens to be Black America, and it doesn't acknowledge itself as a nation within a nation. So I decided to come up with my spin on the USA and call it the UNN, which is United Nigga Nation. So, because I feel like we are America Junior. So, in order to implement that, I had to identify it. So, within identifying it, I wanted to make a something within 3 letters that have the weight of USA or NWA or the FBI or the CIA. You know what I'm saying? There's something with 3 letters that is impactful. And so the most impactful thing I was able to come up with, which is a United Nigga Nation, which is something that has been on my heart for years now, because I was questioned years ago by my she's now my wife, but she was my girlfriend back then. We were learning each other a little bit better, and we were trying to see what we wanted out of life. And through the questions she was asking me, um, the answers I was giving us, I wanted to see unity amongst my people. And she asked me who was my people, and I said niggas. And she said, "What if you have unity with niggas? What would that be?" And I was like, "Shit, we I mean, I'm sorry. I was like, we would have our own nation, you know." And it was all just theoretical then, but as I said, United Nigga Nation, it had like a nice ring to it. And I said it a couple more times, and like a chill came over the room to where we were both like, I think we got something here. But that was 10 years ago, so it took me almost 8 to 9 years to mold that in actually into the idea for my book. So, and like they say, Rome wasn't built overnight.
I would like to ask, who were the biggest influences on you when you were writing the book?
Um, the biggest influences on me when I was writing the book would have to be it's a brother by the name of Dr. Claude Anderson, who is a profound writer. He's written several books on the same topic that I'm talking about. Just a few of them. One of them is Powernomics. Another one is Black Labor, White Wealth. Uh, those are the main two that I was taking information from and citing it and everything in the book. And also my mentor, um, a brother out of Louisville, Kentucky, named Dr. Norris Shelton. He is also a writer along the same topics that I write on. He has a couple. Well, he's written 18 books now, but the main book that I suggest one read is America's Little Black Book. It's a very influential, eye-opening, veil-removing book. Um, so those two people come to mind. And as an inspiration as a writer when I was younger, a brother by the name of Donald Goins was a very influential in my life because he showed me you can actually use the pen to write a picture. You know, you don't have to draw a picture. You can actually write a picture to where when you read it, you can see it. And that just changed my life right there to know that that was possible. So I try to do the same thing with the segments when I write. So those are just 3. If you want any more, I can continue.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, another gentleman that has inspired me is Green. Green. I forget his first name, but he writes the like the 48 laws of power, the laws of human nature. Trying to think of his. I think it's Adam Green. Is his full name? I know his last name is Green. He writes some very intriguing books to where I like the way he does his formats because he's able to teach in a story form. Like he will give for instance, one of the laws of human nature is vanity. Not vanity, but to be somewhat evanescent. You know, to be here one moment and then to be gone, to have people to create that wonder, that the mystery value of yourself. So he goes on to go into a whole backstory of Lady Coco Chanel, the famous wardrobe designer, and it puts her into more of a human form to where you know her whole story, and it makes you respect her even more to know her struggle of coming up from just being somewhat of a streetwalker to a more respected prostitute up to the Chanel that we all know as the lady who has the fancy uh, fragrances and stylish clothes. So, but she did so with creating a mystery to her. because if everybody knew who she really was, they probably really wouldn't have messed with her. So she knew that and used that to her advantage of creating this mystery. So with him giving that story, you understand that law even more. And he does it with all of his books, so it's more of a he shows you how to hammer the nail in through stories, a lot like they do in the Bible. That's another thing. I mean, it has endless information and insight, of course, in the Bible, in the Quran, and books like that, to where they talk in somewhat of parables, to where you can convey the message to your everyday life. Even though we live in totally different times, the meanings still hold the same value. So, so those are two more. I think I got one more. I think another great author is Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle was he wrote The Power of Now and several other books, but one of the most the Power of Now is one of my most eye-opening books that summarizes the power of now, because we never have the future and we never have the past. All we ever have is now. And if you're ever around me, you'll notice I don't wear a watch because it's always right now o'clock. Nah. So that's that. So yeah, that's just a few. But reading is I look at books like channels. You know what I mean? You can a certain author is like a certain channel, and the more you read of their literature, the more you know you like their channel. And then of course you can find another author, and that's a good way to turn the channel, because they call it a TV, the idiot box. It's really not known for teaching people nothing. It's known for dumbing us down. So I advise y'all to read as much as you can, uh, especially in book form. It's something about opening a book and reading those actual words that convey wisdom more profoundly than scrolling or looking at pictures. That's just my advice to you all.
Thank you. I know I don't read as much as I would like to. How do you think I should get in the habit of reading?
One thing I've learned in this journey of mine, we got, I think it's 1,440 minutes in a day, which is 24 hours, of course. But within those, when you look at it in a 1,440-minute perspective, that's a lot of minutes, wouldn't you say? So within those 1,440, you should allocate at least 30 of those to reading a book. You know what I mean? If you can break your day down to segments to where, you just give stuff just a little few minutes, it becomes like practice, to where the more you practice, it's more procedure for you. So some days you might do 30, some days you might do an hour, some days you might do 2 hours, some days you might not read. But in your conscious brain, reading is something that you desire to do. So just make it part of your daily routine, starting with, even if it's 10 minutes. Some people, it's one old saying I heard, 10 pages a day will keep the ignorance away. So it doesn't matter what you read, as long as you're consuming some type of insightful information, or even if you like storybooks, as long as you're practicing uh, reading, because it's, even though it seems to be a old track, old something of the old times, it's still very valuable, very valuable. People like Warren Buffett, they read 8 hours a day. You know what I mean? So when he does something, he's going to read 8 hours. So when he does something for 1 minute, yeah, he might make $1 million off his 1 minute, but he done read for 8 hours to know what to do in that 1 minute. So I don't read for 8 hours, but I would like to get to that point one day. So it's just like, say, for instance, we talk about sports. I think one thing, our people are very athletic, so we can always relate to sports. So, but like hardly anybody has like all the dribbling skills when they pick up a ball the first time. They constantly have to practice dribbling. So before you know it, they can go all around the legs, around the back, over the shoulder, all that good stuff. So if you constantly just have books around and look at them here and there, you will become an avid reader. That's how I ended up. I didn't start off an avid reader. It just kind of consumed me as I got interested in more information. And then lastly, I would always advise you to dig into what you want to know. It's hard to read something that's forced upon you. You need to find what you want. I don't care if it's a recipe book, if it's poetry, if it's stories, whatever it may be. Just dig into it, and it should be fun for you.
Can you describe your writing style? Can you who's the audience for? Like, what's the book for? Like, who's the audience?
My audience is for people who understand hip hop. You know, people who grew up either Parliament on down should understand my writing, because I actually call it flowetry. It's not your normal boring Dr. Seuss. I don't know if y'all remember the Starburst commercial where the teacher's like wah 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 when the water comes shoving in, or even the Muffet Babies, stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
that. But you don't want. I try not to be boring, as you can say. So the same way I'm talking to you all right now is how I wrote my book. So like one of my editors was just blown away because they just didn't know what to do with it. So I had to find another editor because it was overwhelming for them. So however you could categorize how I'm talking to you is how I wrote my book. I like to call it flowetry. So one question for you, how do you categorize how I'm talking to you?
You speak very professional, and you speak in a way to connect with your audience. You don't just speak like super professional and stuff. You want the people who you're having a conversation with to really understand what you're coming from, and not to say like you're trying to like dumb it down, but you try to like connect with the readers more, or connect with your audience more than just flat out writing statements. You try to really get to make them understand where you're coming from.
Exactly. And I prefer the term overstand. I got a whole analogy with that too, because once you're over something, you have control. Like, say, if you're looking at a, a game or something, if you're over the board, you can move the pieces around. You can do what you want to do. But if you're under that board, you just have to listen to whatever the board is doing. So once I really dug into the English language, within the language itself, it teaches us obedience and formality to keep us stuck in the system. So my whole ideology is how to override the system. So that's why I would like to overstand everything from an aerial point of view, to where I can, take the pieces and put them where I feel like they should be. Because I think one thing we can all notice with this whole COVID stuff is there's people who make rules and there's people who follow rules. So you can decide which one you want to be in this thing called life, and it's it's endless possibility in either one. You can follow all the rules they give you, or you can focus on making up rules. And I look forward to making up rules. I don't know about you.
Could you summarize the premise of your book and like just really quickly so we can understand what it's about?
The synopsis of my book?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Certainly. United Nigga Nation is the equation. The death of racism is the solution. So anytime you're dealing with the equation, you usually break it down to simplest form, correct? So within breaking this book down to simplest form, I broke it down into sections. You have a united section, you have a nigga section, and then you have, I bet you can guess the third section. So
Nations.
within the united, I tried to break it down to a factual and actual standpoint. Very unargumentative. It's just point blank on how we are united. To where and I even have a questionnaire, and I have like summaries in the end of every chapter just to make sure we're all on the same page. So then after the united section, I go into the nigga section. But I think one thing we all can agree on in unity is that as a people, we are pretty defensive. Now, why are we defensive? Now that's questionable. But at the end of the day, I took the most offensive thing that we have, which is a word, because it seems like we're the only people who is afraid to be offensive unless it's on somebody's court or field or something. So I'm taking this word that we're supposedly the only ones that can use it, and use it for our advantage. So if we use this word for our advantage and we have a united nigga going on, we actually have a whole nation to claim. And within that nation, I say that we are America Junior. So instead of calling us Black America, which creates instant separation, I call us America Junior, which gives us instant inclusion as an offspring nation within a nation that has been subject to oppression and, just the merciless evil of the oppressor for nearly 500 years now. So calling out the elephant in the room is a quick summary of the book to say calling out the elephant in the room, but I'm also a solutionarian. I just don't want to add to the pollution. I want to give a solution. So the nation section is where you will find majority of the solutions and how we can overcome these interesting heritage that we have and use it for our advantage instead of cutting off our roots and going bald. I like to go let our roots grow to where we can plant it up, lock it up, do whatever we want to do, and flourish as a people. I don't know if that was too long, but that's that.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the title. Why'd you pick United Nation as the title?
Hold up, before he
Because
answers, before you go into that real quick, I'm inspired because you don't have, I read a lot and I've read the Now books. I read the same books, and students have to understand that a philosopher, when you're reading books, you want to kind of go outside of the grain and read things that you can learn from. So when he approached me about the book, the title grabbed my attention. And when I was reading it, I came across this piece on page 38. Basically, he was like, why wasn't Black buried with nigger? Like, because in America, the two words are synonymous, regardless whether individually accepted or not, and promote race division with wealth and poverty segregation that became created among American chattel slavery, which is one of the main problems of the offspring multi-nation. Bred for wealth, but not to share the wealth. Usually, when something dies, the universe gives birth to something new. What new does the NAACP offer the advancement of America historically controversial labeled colored people besides what it was doing prior to the funeral? So that's the language that you hear. It's not, the way he's speaking, he's kind of like, but when he writes it, it is very prophetic. And I just read Carter G. Woodson's The Miseducation of the Negro, and his writing reminds me of Carter G, the way he is explaining his research, based on his research. Like he says, originally the word was a descriptive word describing the complexion of most Africans as dark-skinned, melanated people, similar to Moor, which translates to dark-skinned Africans. Niger in Latin means black, and nigrum, negro, negre, and noir are derived from black, describing the God-given melanin in those African descent. The usage of the term dates as far back as 1574 of the Old World. So he goes into this history of why we are called Black. And he even goes into when lexicographer, I can't even say that word. Help me.
Yeah, I looked it up. I never said it.
Yeah.
I never said it before I wrote it. I just
lexicographer Noah Webster Dictionary, wrote his first dictionary in 1806. He stamped the term with its well-known ignorant, lazy, and disgraceful meaning that would mainly become used in reference towards ASN. The term of...
That's the American Slave Nation.
What?
Sorry.
Yeah, American Slave Nation.
That's the American, yes.
The term or word has the extensive history throughout the English language and historical literature. A word with such a meaningful history, originally describing characteristics from Africa, but hate-filled English definitions give life to the understanding of the dual history of the two nations on one hand. So, I mean, he goes into it, and then he talks about, he goes into it deeply. And I don't feel like a lot of us really explore the origins of the titles that we're called. Because prior to that, you were called by your culture, like where you came from, an Israelite, a Hebrew, wherever country you came from, that's how you were identified. But anyway, I enjoy it, so I just wanted you to know that. Yeah, I've been I've been reading it, and
that's
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. This is your show. My bad.
No, I've never like I said, all this is new territory for me. So at the end of the day, I just um I've been promoting it so heavily, I haven't looked in it too much. You know what I mean? I'm just happy to, so yes, a lot of the stuff that is in here is something that's been heavy on my heart for years. Because I remember being in elementary and they used to like the how, you know how when you're learning words, it just don't make sense. Like how, you know what I'm saying, when you get those words that's all spelled the same, but they mean different things and so on and so forth. So I could see from a young age that somebody just made this up. You know what I mean? And I have ability to make stuff up too, given my God-given thoughts. So we have to use our power that's why I say we have a Webster power in all of us. We can make up stuff. We just have to respect it enough for other people to respect it. Then it's a chain event. Because Webster was, he could have got looked at as just another whoever, but he took himself serious and other people took him serious to where now I've literally gotten arguments with people about what this brother say a word mean. But I'm like, I say it means something different, so I don't care what he say.
Right.
And they be mad at me.
Because we can all create our own definitions.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, guys.
That's all I'm saying.
I got on camera.
I have a quick question. Just want to touch bases because you said there were some moments where you were not struggling to write it, but you felt emotion when writing this book. And my mom, she's an author. She just published her first book, and she it took her like 2 to 3 years to write it because it's full of poems about her life and the struggles she went through. And my question is, did you like take a pause in writing this book where it's like, man, this is just too much, man. Like let me take a little couple months off of writing this and focus on something else, or did you just write straight through it?
I went through it because I left my normal life behind me, and I moved to DC to write this book. So like I gave myself a time limit to write it, and of course I went over that time limit, so it took me longer than expected because I didn't know how much this was going to take from me to actually get out of my head, because it was something that was lingering in my head for a while to where I finally gave it I got the conviction to just go ahead, 100% and do it. Because when I'm an extremist, I openly admit it now. For years, I had problems with it because I was extremist in the wrong things. So, extremists, whatever we're doing, we're going to do it. There's can't stop us. So it led me up to this point to where when I have a book as my conviction of what I was going to do, it was nothing that was going to stop me. So I could see where it could be more challenging when you're talking about personal stuff. Like it's hard to, I'm like, I don't even like talking about myself because it's such a priceless thing of your memories and your emotions. So it's like I don't really even touch that type of stuff. So my book is more of a lot regurgitating a lot of the stuff that I've read and just putting my own spin on it. So that was more easier than necessarily remembering stuff about me, having to deal with those memories and talk about it in a poetic sense. Because even with talking with you all, I go back down memory lane of my thoughts, and it's like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? It's emotional. So I can just imagine what it's like writing, because I've been through heck of different phases. And I tell my buddies this, I can say it happily now, but when I was living it, it was nothing I told nobody. But I told my, I'm kind of candid. So, but like, I was so broke, I couldn't kill myself. I wanted to kill myself at one point in life, but I was so broke, I couldn't afford the gun. So sorry, I didn't kill myself. But that was the old me. So just saying, like, so defeating thoughts like that at a young age, to where when I have a self conviction of things, there's no stopping me. So if I get strong enough to really talk about my life personally, it'll probably take me years to do that as well, because I probably have to go cry a river, and we'll have a whole new ecological system on the map, because it's a lot to let out.
I mean,
Did
that was
what you got?
nothing. So that was deep.
Oh, did you ever like growing up like well, like you just said, it wasn't you had a struggle growing up, and did you feel like was it like I need a journal to write about how I'm feeling? Because I feel like with me sometimes I don't do it often, but I try to use writing and poetry as a way out, and I do see myself publishing like one or two books and stuff like that. So I'm just basically asking, at a young age, did you know you was gonna do this because of the stuff that was going on in your life? Did you know like I'm gonna write a book about something? Like I know I'm gonna be a writer.
No, I actually took my writing gift for granted, uh, because I used to be able to turn in a paper with like I would hit spell check, print it, and turn it in. Like I didn't even read it myself. I was very arrogant. I kind of breezed through school all the way up to college, so and ended up quitting college and whatever. So I really didn't take my writing serious until this book. I got some stuff published because my teachers liked it when I was younger, but I just never took it. It was just it was so easy, I guess to say, because it was the stuff you can do easy. Like some guys are just female magnets, or some women are male magnets, to where they don't look at getting guys or girls as a challenge, but you have a friend who just can't get a girl or a guy, and they overconsume with it. So like I may have friends who was just almost dumb and couldn't write a paper if their life depended on it, and I could write it for them real quick. They just tell me the topic. I could help them out, bing, 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 and they could do what they do with it. So I took it for granted. Usually, you take stuff for granted because if you look at all the what I used to call it when I was younger, like the Rico Suaves of my age, and you look at them now, they all washed up. And the brothers who was trying to really be impressful are actually impressful now. So you take what you have as a gift for granted. And that's one thing I think why we idolize athletes so much, because they use their athletic attributes to put themselves at the top level. Not enough of us use our natural attributes when it comes to writing to get to that top level. Because I don't know why. I have plenty of type of theories to it, but I don't have anything factual. So I just say, if you have a natural gift of writing, don't never let that candle go out. It's just do it whenever you feel like it, man. You have control of your 1,440 minutes throughout your day. If it's something you want to do, only thing that's gonna stop you is your thoughts. So I would just say, uh, be original in what you're writing. Don't think about what other people would think about it. Just say what you want to say. Somebody bound to like it. Just look at rappers for chance. I know y'all. I don't know if you listen to rap, R&B, or whatever, but just look at artists. It's a lot of artists that I don't even know how they had the audacity to put their voice on the mic, but they can have a concert and it be sold out. So my opinion really doesn't matter. They did what they wanted to do and people like it. It's always gonna be somebody to like what you do, and it's always gonna be somebody to not like what you do. You just do what you want to do and let people fall in their place. Can't think for nobody.
I mean, that is
So
deep.
today,
Yeah, that's deep. I mean, that's so deep and profound. Sorry. Go ahead. This is the after school journalism club. This is the Jaguar Voices that
I
I was.
like y'all, man.
Yeah.
Long distance daps.
well, you talk about how in the past you didn't take some opportunities. So if you were to go back in the past and talk to yourself, what would you say?
Um,
What and when? When would you? What and when? What point of your life and when? Like, what old you would you say, and what would you say to that?
um, I would have to go back to my because at the end of the day, if you ever watch those movies where they do time travel, uh, at the end of the movie they always convey the message that you can't mess with it because you won't be who you are. But at the end of the day, hypothetically, I would like to go back to my college self and just tell myself to focus more on investments. Looking into how to make money work for you, because sweat equity will only get you earned income. Earned income is, W-2s, and you can file your taxes at the end of the year. People with real money run from the tax man because they owe them. So, but that's where your LLCs and write-offs come into play. But investment money is where money makes money while you sleeping. So if I knew more about that when I was younger, I think I would be more well off now, and I would focus more on investing instead of finding a good job. The main thing is, like, say, if you got $100, if I invest this $100 today, it could possibly be $1,000 next month. So to have that, not necessarily, because a lot of people say saving. If you stick something in the ground that ain't a seed, it's not gonna grow. You have to invest, make your money work for you. So I would say, yeah, I would tell myself to do all that stock stuff that I was thinking about, all that investing stuff. Quit trying to get that quick dollar to get a flashy clothes or try to impress a chick. Really focus on investing, and because you are gonna live longer than 30. I have to admit, with the environment I was growing up in, we didn't think we was gonna make it to 30. So once you get to 30, you scratching your head like, uh, I guess I need to get to it.
Right. For me, it was 21. The age for me was 21 because I grew up in the 80s. So it's like if you made it, people didn't think they were going to make it through the 80s. They were in New Jack City. Yeah, we didn't think it. High school was like people were dying, getting shot. We're like, wow. So yeah, that's some real stuff. And then when you get to 21 and you get to 30 and you get to 40, and I'm 52. So now you're like scratching your head because you never thought 21, you still holding on to 21, and I done passed 21 30 years ago. So I got to put this book out too.
It's definitely possible. So yeah, next question.
What do you
I have a question. So when so the book, do you think that in the future you're gonna write more books like that? And if so, like, are you gonna stay on the same subject, or like, are you gonna find a different subject?
Most definitely, I'm going to keep writing. When I first came out with this book, that was the first thing my mother asked because she's always worried about her baby. I'm the only child, so she's always worried about her baby. So I'm like, Mama, I just wrote the book. You already wrote it. You know what I'm saying? You want me to write another one? It took a lot to write this book, so I was scared of those thoughts. But as I've been out here on my journey, a whole bunch more thoughts done poured into my head. So of course I'm gonna have to get those out as well. So and it's definitely gonna be along the same lines. I am not I do not see that I am wrong. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can like the earth is flat type people, you can argue with people and they can prove to you that the earth is round, and then I gotta write a book on how the earth is round now. But I'm definitely hasn't been I definitely know the earth is round and is rounder than I thought type concept. You know what I mean? So I just feel I have to sharpen my tool and keep going because it's not when I was up in DC over the weekend, I had an epiphany to where, yeah, right, my little book was it feels good. It was, it's monumental in my life and my family. We don't have any authors or nobody pretty much trying to be the captain of their own ship. But when I realized the ship I'm trying to that I'm talking about, how big it is and how much gas it has, it's just like, man, I feel like David and Goliath, and he got a twin brother that didn't nobody know about. You know what I mean? So it's real. It's real because DC, with it being the capital of America, I think it's the epitome of America. So seeing what I saw over the weekend, I know now I done caused this curiosity of what did I see. When I went down to the Black Lives Matter Plaza and saw just how us, of course, were getting arrested and antagonized for our beliefs, and then those people on the opposing end getting protected by those that's supposed to protect all of us, and seeing those that basically, hold on, I don't know why I'm talking in code, but basically seeing black people getting locked up by all these black officers, and then these white people getting protected by the same officers that was locking up the black people. Like, are you kidding me? I like, you gotta wipe your face and say, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? And then the brother just having a cold stare through me. Like, I'm not saying because the most tool that I have right now is my mouth. My words I try to be as potent as I can. I'm talking to y'all very nicely, so imagine if I was talking forcefully. So I am very good with what I say. So I knew he heard me because we had eye contact, but he still didn't let the brother go. So I didn't get my message across to the point where I was knew what I had saw and knew what I was saying. But he and I call these type of people Negro pens. If we have so many Negro pens that don't even know that they're Negro pens, to where a Negro pen is somebody that has the same skin of us, but they're not kin to us. They have the mentality of the master, or they want to emulate what the master has given them. So they have. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the movie Life, but has everybody seen the movie Life? It's a great
I have.
movie. It's a great movie. Y'all need to check it out. It has classic actors in it, but they on the chain gang back in the day, and it's always a brother who was like they call him the
It's what Martin
I
Lawrence
went
did.
yeah. So remember the guy that used to always yes a boss he with the gun the
Yeah,
one
right.
black
Yeah,
dude he had working. They've always been around. So if y'all know anything about Uncle Tom's Cabin, it's called like the Sambo. So like those people have always played a role in our community to where now they get glorified and uplifted to where Uncle Tom's are looked at to be bad. And if you ever read Uncle Tom's Cabin, he actually looked out for his family. He took a lot of abuse so other people wouldn't. So if you hear that, as we know the term Uncle Tom, that's what we're not supposed to be like. Not saying that we should be like Uncle Tom. I'm just saying we shouldn't be like Sambo. Nobody talks about the Sambo character in the book, but if y'all ever read into it, you'll know more. I don't mean to get too far off track with that, but I think the question was, what was the question?
And Nora, and
Yes.
what was the question?
Oh no, I was
No, we said what was your question
wondering
again?
like if he was gonna write more books on the topic.
Okay, yeah. So yes, I am gonna. I can go on my tangents and I forget where I'm going sometimes. So yes, the answer to that question is I will be writing more books, and I already have the title. I like you guys enough, and I don't think y'all in a plagiarism. So I haven't got my copyright and stuff for this one yet, but I got another one in the chamber, and it's called the Noun Testament.
Okay, the Now Testament. I'll be looking for it.
That sounds like that's gonna be something serious. That sounds like that's gonna be serious.
Right. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm going in on that one.
yeah. I mean, you go in.
The Noun Testament.
You. This is a nonfiction because someone asked me what type of book of it is it. It's a nonfiction. It's like reading what. See, this is you guys haven't really been exposed because I don't think any. I'm in the English department, so I know y'all haven't read Uncle Tom's Cabin unless you had a certain teacher, and other than that, you haven't really been exposed to Black rhetoric literature. You have not really been exposed to Black rhetoric, meaning those books written by the Carter G. Wilsons, the Marcus Garveys, the philosopher. Did you talk about what it is to be a philosopher? Did you talk about what it means to be a philosopher?
Now I can no problem. From my understanding of philosophy, um, I think one of the first things they taught me when I took my philosophy course was that one guy who said, "I am that I am," and I'm like, "Okay, what's the rest?" And they was like, "This is," I think his name was Nietzsche or something, and I'm like, he said, "What? I am that I am." That's a Peter Tosh song. He ain't talking about nothing. And not saying he ain't talking about nothing, but like it's common knowledge that I guess I am that I am. Duh, I look in the mirror, so that person is somebody. So that's that whole concept. So I looked at philosophy as something that wasn't, that deep. Like they make it deep just because you can. The tongue can say anything, and we can run laps around people. But when you get to the essence of verbalizing stuff or what it's about conveying messages. So when it comes to philosophy, that's the essence of it, to say like how you feel about something or give a ideology about something. It all has to form underneath a philosophy on how one looks at it. So just breaking it down to general form is what makes philosophy so cool, I guess, because we all have it. We all have that God-given characteristic of thinking. And that's where the philosophy essence is your thoughts, and then the snowball or domino effect that they have, and then standing on it and portraying it to the world to where you say, hey, I am Thomas, and I say a united nigga nation would be the death of racism. And just because I said it, yes, that kind of is the initiation that I'm a philosopher. So taking it to the next step was writing a book about it. And then I had to categorize it as a philosophy. So it was really something that I created. Yes, I created my child, but that's just like bodily functions. Actually forming from thoughts and making it something that's living, actual, this is my first time. So I'm just in awe of the experience within itself of actually having a thought to come out to be something actual. So I think that's what philosophy is all about. Is just formulating a thought and to be into something that's accepted by more than just you.
Why do you think that people should read your book?
Why do I think people should read my book?
Yeah.
Because I got a good one for that one. How about this? Since I got my book handy, I dedicate this book to every person who has said the word nigga, has called someone nigga, or been called a nigga, or has an opinion on the word nigga. So
That's
that's what I think somebody should read.
everybody in America. I mean, that's like pretty much everybody in America.
I try to sum it up as good as I could without saying it just like that.
Yeah.
But on another note, to say why should you read my book is because it's full of solutions. I think y'all the generation that's tired of hearing the same old BS that has gotten us dizzy because we keep going in circles and circles and circles. Outcast, one of my favorite groups, they said don't nobody feel like marching because their shoes are overrun. Come on now, like I felt that in my heart, and then I wrote this book not knowing it was gonna be marches all over the country once my book was published. You know what I mean? So of course it gave me like a yellow brick road to go sell my book, but I wasn't marching. I would jump right in the middle of March, sell a few books, get back in my car, and go on to the next city. Like planting my seeds, hoping we can all start thinking a little bit more to where like we can't keep doing the same stuff. So what I put in my book is full of solutions, a way that we can overcome this hypocrisy that we live in. You know what I mean? Because we're in the information era, and every information era is the end of that civilization according to history. No civilization survives after this information era. Because why? Everybody knows everything. Once everybody's a know-it-all, you can't tell nobody nothing. So it's a race for the resources. And with our people's predicament, we don't even have no information. So shit, how the hell, I'm sorry. So how are we going to get resources? So we are double behind on everything if we let alone ain't got no information on who we are. We are in cultural kindergarten. So we're going against cultures who've been around for thousands of years, who's based their information off thousands of years, which is our stuff. So it's like we are in a stalemate if we keep going in this direction. So what I'm trying to do for any solutionarian out there who is willing to join forces with me, I got solutions that kill out the pollution without nobody dying and no bloodshed. I mean, this is like gold. That's why I put it in a gold book. Everybody likes gold, right?
All right. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you for joining us. We have one more question from Therese, which is, I think, is a great closing question. What group of people do you think would be most affected by your reading your book?
Of course, the people I target in this book. I target niggas in this book. So I think this is a book meant to liberate niggas. Now, niggas should not be something we look down upon. Nigga is not something that we should frown upon. Nigga is something that we should embrace, and it can move us in our proper place. Because, like I say, if you if you scoop to the bottom of the barrel, like say if you're getting ice cream, a lot of people tend to only want to scoop at the top. So you leave out what's at the bottom. Now, I want all of our people to come along for this journey. So you can't just say you want the elite, like how the whole integration has done us, to where only the best get to integrate and go work at these places or play in these leagues or do that or do this. But when we take when we talk about us as a nation instead of a culture, we it's endless opportunity. I even got a chapter in here called nigga privilege, black privilege, nigga privilege. Like we always mad about white privilege. Okay, they got theirs, but the wheel, that's not. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just need to patent it and call it our own, and we can get the rolling. So yes, the book will mainly impact people that look like me. And one of my I read this yesterday into the mall to a group of kids. They were pretty intrigued by it. But I have, like I said, after every section, I have like questionnaires and summary type things. So in the end of the nigga section, I have 10 reasons why you might be a nigga. I'm gonna give y'all 2 of them because, like I said, we challenge for time. So one of the ones I like the most is I'm gonna give y'all 3 if y'all can bear with me. One is, if you or any of your relatives were segregated against through the segregation era of the USA, or you can grow an afro naturally, you might be a nigga. I ain't calling you a nigga, but you might be a nigga. Now, another one is, if you are African American and you or your grandparents were not born in Africa, you might be a nigga. Now, I ain't calling you a nigga, but you might be a nigga. And so, like I said, it's 10 of those reasons why you might be a nigga. But as I was living in DC writing this book, walked past a brother one day and we acknowledged each other the way niggas do. So I said, man, I got to put that in my book. But I couldn't figure out which one of my 10 to take out. So me being from the hood, I always remember that thing called and one. I don't know if y'all know about and one, right? So my and one was, when you see another nigga, you acknowledge each other by lifting your chin up. I ain't calling you a nigga, but you might be a nigga because you know how they do us. They, how you doing? How you doing? But we, so just for general smiling purposes, it's just something to smile about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. You're great. Yeah.
So
Thank you. You were awesome.
Thanks for y'all's time. I'm try to be always available. I'm actually I got to head to Louisville tonight. I'm a road warrior, so I'm about to go eat, freshen up, and I'm be on the road again. So if y'all need me, just holler. I love these phones because I'm right here with y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Y'all
you.
welcome. Y'all welcome. Like I
Okay.
always say, what's 1 + 1?
2.
Deuces. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.